Hello and welcome to a new Impulsive Compulsion video here at Question the Truth with me, Slisk Lindqvist. And this is the part 2 of the 2021 Plus theme. And I want to talk about judgment and the seed that the insights bring. Now, a while back, I don't really remember when, there's been so much strange things happening, wherein I created I didn't create anything, I wrote down something that I call the universal balance, which is a guideline or a false doctrine, I don't know. Still, I live by it. It's about judgment, mostly. Those that listens learn, those that follow lead. It's just there's it's about judgment and its perspectives. I'm sorry for the long intervals of silence. Like this, I wrote down the definition of racism because I mean to say that racism is a faulty way of seeing things. It's not objective. It is a bias. And it's based in a doctrine, a false doctrine, of multiple races within the human race. So, what I've written down is that the correct way of thinking about racism, which isn't true, but this is degrading judgment of other individual. Degrading judgment of other individual. Can also be xenophobic judgment of other individual, but it's degrading is the right definition from my perspective. In Swedish it is nedvärderande värdering om annan individ. Values are based upon the insights and the insights of those. Well, the insights we hold and the insights of those we have around us. We will not learn from anyone else than ourselves. Now, some of the statements in here are very true. Like, I am my one and only enemy. I myself is my only enemy. Because it's from my perspective that I see ill in others, right? The core teaching that life has taught me is all life is equal, all life is sacred, respect life and life will respect in its return. And what that means is that if you respect life to its fullest, you will be part of it to its fullest. And I don't know if it's the way I am, or if it's that others don't really get what I'm saying that makes me an enemy to them. Don't understand. From my perspective, I only see friends and potential for friendship. But I come across as some monster or evil person when I state some of the most obvious things to people. In here, I wrote down this strange thing. I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking a lot of it. I still see life as God, as my teacher. Kind of. So I wonder if it came from me or if it came from life. Anyway, as I see the children of earth, I smile at their wanderers' minds. I'll learn from them as I hope they will from me. Yet here I am, a seed myself. I can't stop thinking that the universal balance is that seed. To this core, it's quite strange actually, because it's 5 that becomes 7, or actually just 6, but you can read it as 1, 2, or 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, which would make it 7, even though it's only 5. And I have a thought train description here. Yeah, these here are 5 insights that came over me early in 2019. So this is 2 years old. In this is I am what I see or seek in others, my true self. And what I mean by that is not that if you see a murderer, you are a murderer. No. I don't understand why people are so closed off in their mindscape that they have to kind of pick holes in what people say because they cannot compute what is said. If you see an idiot, it's probably, or the highest probability is actually that you are the idiot that you see. If you see a murderer, well, that's a statement based on an action that could or could have not have happened. I don't know really how I should state that grammarly, but a murderer is a definition of an action. An idiot is a definition of a value. It's a very different thing. And judgments are based on values, not on actions. So there's been a lot of strange things that people state, like I said in the last video, part 1, was that there is a big difference in an opinion and in a difference of insights. It doesn't mean it's a different well, your insight will be correct by the standards and limits of your consciousness. So here is where you can implement quantum physics or quantum mechanics. So 2 are right, still 1 is wrong. Because the statements from both become true because of the differences in the insights that they hold. one insight is higher than the other though, and that is that a difference in insights is not a difference in opinion, even though the one with the lower insight or earlier insight would have it be that every difference is a difference in opinion. Both are right, but only one is right. There's no lies in this, it's just the truth. And the limits of that mind at that given moment. Everyone gets higher insights all the time. It's nothing strange about it really. But when we have the I am what I see in others, my true self, this is, well, if you judge someone falsely, well, then you are what you see. If you seek something in others, you might seek love and not understand that you are love. And there's still going to be a duality in this, but it has to do with the insights that people have. If they don't have high enough capacity to take in what is said, then they will live by their perspective only. I'm probably going to live by my perspective for a very long time, but still I'm listening to others. Listen learns. Those who listen learns. Because you will evolve and elevate when you listen. Listen to the fascist, and the fascist will listen to the fascist. And when you can understand and take in that you are the resistance of what you meet, then you will be able to listen to even your enemies with an open mind, and then view them as something else entirely. Because an enemy is just a word used as an excuse to behave badly towards another human being. There are no enemies. Not in others. Haven't been ever. It's a misunderstanding in communication. We all need to build and rebuild our ways of communication towards each other. We need to learn our languages properly and learn how the language is used and how you can use it for good or bad. It's all the same. All words that come out of a person's mouth is manipulation. The only way not to manipulate another person is to That's right. Not say anything. That's how we stop manipulating each other. But we need to be able to communicate with each other. That's why it's so important to actually learn the common definitions of a word that we have all come to have. But people are like, well, languages evolve. No, people get freaking lazy and they change the definitions so that they can be right, and then they keep on using it so that others keep on using it, and then it's part of the language. So basically, that's what's happening. And there are some definitions that are really out there. Really strange definitions. For me, matriarchy and patriarchy are not defined by the gender, it's defined by its actions. That means that the matriarchy, which is supposed to be that entity that creates equality and treats everyone equally, that's not a family. A family is a patriarchy. Who takes the role of being the head in a patriarchy is based on what we believe in, though. But the patriarchy is the family. It's the family unit. It's never been anything else but the family unit. And the definitions that we have about it, that it's men and that it's women. No, it's more like government and family unit. They need to work together in order to have a fine balance. When one gets more power over the other, that's when we come to the complications such as the vaccine passports or social points, or, well, we also have fascism, which is when the family unit wants to kick out the mother, basically, which is socialism. But socialism and they kind of have to work together for a functional society, but they also need to start to listen, because if you don't listen, you will not change the problems that the few or the many actually live with. It's either that or we go back to anarchy. Even so, the first 18 years of your life is basically anarchy. In any country, besides China and South Korea, North Korea probably. But you can live almost fully lawless up until the age of, what is it, 16? You will still abide by the rules of the home, but none will put you in prison for doing something stupid. Oh, it's the first years is so that you should learn how to function in a society. That's why you have so much free reign to begin with. But then you're supposed to, by age, act accordingly to the common regulations that has been created by the few that are usually, how should I put it, created out of greed and love of money. It's quite fucked up. Sorry for the language. It's power expression. Power expression. It's always going to be a power expression. You could censor it if you want to, but it's not going to change. Well, I've already said this. All life is equal. All life is sacred. Now, here comes the thing. All life is equal, all life is sacred, respect life and life will respect in return is in one. You also have it, all life is equal, all life is sacred. It's a statement. This is not a recommendation of how to live, it's just a statement. This is how it is. Respect life and life will respect in return is also a bit of a guidance. Still, it's a statement. This is how it is. If you do not let life into your life, you will be in a self-destructive mental state where you only see darkness. And about darkness, there isn't any darkness. There have never been any darkness. Darkness does not exist. It's that easy because light is everywhere. If light wasn't everywhere, you wouldn't see anything. Because darkness is the void of light. And even in the deepest of the dark, you will always find light if you search for it. And besides, if you are in a window and light less room, you will still give off light. Which means you will see in the dark, even if. So, darkness, the void of light, does not exist. Not even in space. Let's see here. I am what I give because I give what I see or seek. This is a statement of the selfishness in our nature. How we judge. I could give you a cup of tea and you would just pour it out in order to put in some bitter coffee in it. Or I could give you tea and you put lemonade in there. Or something sweet. Maybe you add something to it. Like you take the tea and you add some honey. It is because we are the interpreters of what others do. And we only give others what we think that we have been given, or what we want to be given. It's not about a present or gift or something like that. No, it's about... Oh, I actually have a situation. I told someone that if you feel that something is not right, you shouldn't say it. If it's not positive, you shouldn't say it. It's a given statement of many wise people. If what you have to say is not positive, do not say it. But that's also a bit limited. What is positive and what is not? Because what you hear from me could be positive or could be negative, which means it has to be with my intention that it is positive or not. That means I need to learn more about my language that I use so that I can be fluent in that and actually give a positive, or manipulate it into be a positive when it's actually a negative. That's like, I used a power expression for something. I had a situation. I made a Discord server, and the other one I worked with had some people on the server, and he made one of them a moderator. And that moderator, I asked him how he was perceiving the server, and I might have overreacted, but he stated that he felt that it was search for the word a bit much or difficult to handle. Instead of writing this to me personally, he wrote it on another Discord server, and that statement became what the others now perceived that Discord server to be, because they had heard something from an admin of their server, so now it's natural. It's a authority figure that states something, and now a whole bunch of people had the same idea, or they got an idea from him that this server wasn't any good because it was too much and difficult to use. So I got irritated, and I stated something like, personally, I think when you have something negative to say to people, you should shut up. I stated that. It was a general statement. That person took that and made it into a personal attack, and the other people that could not fathom what I had said also saw it like a personal attack upon that person, because he had stated it was a personal attack. But that personal attack comes from within, not from someone else. Which means truth was told in that statement, And he couldn't tolerate that because of his ego. And there was a fight that didn't end up until the moment that I just, I'm leaving it. I'm not going to stay here. Because the other admins there just kept on fueling the fire instead of bringing the water. And I was misunderstood over and over and over and over again because they wanted to see it, and they gave what they thought was what I had said and what I said. They even said I was sitting on a high horse. They said that I was seeing myself as better than everyone else, and a lot of things. This is something that I have observed in other people, that they tend to see things from their perspective and always give a different answer. I think it's very fun and amusing, actually. So I don't get hurt from it. But you need to have the same intent in order to be hurt from another. And what I mean by that is, if someone calls me an idiot, that word will only have power over me if I have the same neglecting intent towards myself. Otherwise, it's gonna be, oh, you said it? I don't know. Did you say what? Because the word has a definition, but that definition doesn't necessarily have any power over us. We give that definition power over us because of our own self-loathing. It's not. Others cannot hurt us with words. We can only hurt ourselves. That's why I state, I am what I seek in others, my true self, because we see what we want to see, in a way, because that's how we feel about ourselves, but we are not conscious about how we feel about ourselves. This is why people feel so bad about themselves, why they are so sad and depressed all over the world. Because this is why they seek a savior, because they cannot see that it's inside of them. Let's see. I am what I give because I give what I see or seek. And this could be different for everyone. You could give... Let's see. I got 3 lights. Or lamps some years ago. I thought they were so freaking ugly, so I hid them under my bed. I didn't say anything, and I didn't throw them away because I thought perhaps they're going to be of use later on. Right now they're ugly as F. Ugly as fudge. Huh? Okay, so I don't know, but half a year later, I was with a acquaintance in a lamp store, and I saw these LED lights So big bulbs with brown glass. They were really, really nice, and I was thinking they would be really nice looking in those lamps that I got. So the next month, the month after, I bought what I needed in order to use these. So I bought 3 bulbs and the cables that I needed and stuff like that, and I fixed it. And I put them up in the 3 windows that I have in my apartment. And they have been on for 3 years now, I think. It's how we perceive things in the beginning can be something else later on. It's so easy to judge something upon its superficial, or it's really easy to judge something superficially. The core of those lamps were to have these LED bulbs. And they are very beautiful to watch. There's something strange about that freaking light because it moves. It's the vibration. It's like multiple when I look at them, sometimes they look like they are dividing and going together. Just like they are vibrating. It's really strange. But it's only the bulbs that is doing it. So I can look at the bulbs, nothing else is moving or focusing in and out or vibrating. It's just the lights. Not the bulbs, just the light in the bulbs. It's strange. It's interesting to watch. Next one here is I am as mature as the last mistake made. Thereby I am perception. What I mean by this is how should I put it? There isn't any mistakes. We don't make mistakes. We act upon the limitations of our consciousness and knowledge at that given moment. And it is when we notice that we might have made a mistake and we change that makes us mature. Like, it is like stand up to your values but not your bad behavior. Should be quite easy to take in. But not everyone does that. It's I have written something else here. In every choice that we ever make, we are perfection. In every choice that I ever make, I am perfection. The choices we make are based upon the understanding of the given moment. We are not God. So we are not able to perceive what will happen for others involved. We mature after every choice that we make, as long as we question and contemplate them. Life will give us answers. Life will teach us when we are ready. That is why we don't see the divine plan. It's not to be seen till the answers are given. I am as mature as the last mistake made. Thereby I am perfection. Now read the second insight again. And the second insight is, all life is equal, all life is sacred, respect life and life will respect in return. It's get back to that one, because this is the core. That insight, or those two insights, depends on how you view it, is the core to how you judge. These others are guidelines to how you go about respecting another person righteously. When I say perfection and not perception, I mean perfection. We are perfect. We are made in God's image, right? We cannot be anything else than perfect. So, but our choices are still not made with the core in mind. Our choices are made from our limited perception, from our limited consciousness. And the more we learn, the deeper the insights become. And we can sound really harsh, but I'm not. Let's take another. I am what I see, seek in others. Therefore, I can change what I see or seek. This is an extension of I am what I see, seek in others, my true self. It is an extension that is needed in order to actually get what is stated. And it's like this. I cannot control how you perceive me, but I can change how I perceive you. I can also control, well, you control how you perceive me, I control how I perceive you. You have no control over how you are perceived if it's not that you are actually trying to manipulate me. And in the strangeness of the earlier discourse, there was this situation where they told me that I don't take responsibility for how I am perceived. And I was like, I cannot control how I am perceived, only how I perceive you. and they told me I was deflecting. And I said, if you want me to control how you perceive me, then I would manipulate you, and you would not see the true me, which means I would be a false me, and I couldn't live with that. I don't want to show another version of me that isn't true, just because another person wants to perceive me in another way, or not perceive me in another way. It's a bit of a duality there, because they still have the choice. They could see me as, well, oh no, now he's totally different. He's the opposite of how it was before. Oh, what a false personality. Ha ha ha. Yeah, not gonna go for that. I'm not gonna lie my ass off to myself just to make another person happy, just because they aren't conscious enough to dig deep inside of themselves and learn more insights and listen to other people. I don't care if you're 65 years old, if you're 103, or if you're 10 years old. It's your perception. It's your insights. There's no difference in age more than how much experience you are supposed to have maybe lived through. Because you can live through a whole lot of things, but if you do not learn from them, then you haven't elevated your insights, and you have definitely not matured in any way. You're still that child that you were before that event or lesson happened. This is why I state that there are so many children in the world, because they do not see their own ways. They don't understand at all. They behave like children. They get angry for nothing. They take things for granted. They take things personally. Even if it's a general statement, they make it about themselves. And it's when people take it personally, and it's a general statement, that's how you see the selfish people. That's the selfishness. They need to be the center of attention. I freaking hate that. Well, I hate that with me. I don't want to be in the center of attention for more but one person. And that's probably the person that I would marry, and none other. I don't want to have another person's. I want to meet that one person that will see who I am and then accept me for who I am, because I already accept others. In a way. Still, it's like I'm bypassing God, isn't it? So life is supposed to teach us, but we're supposed to have guides in our lives that tells us how we are supposed to be handling the situations and events and everything around us when it comes to what life presents to us. When I told people that life was God, they was like, what? Because they don't get it. They haven't put any thought to it. What's with you from birth, from the moment of your creation, up until the death, or the last breath. God is with you all the way, from the beginning to the end. Holding your hand in every event, every situation, in every experience that you have within life. Life is always going to be there. This is also what connects everyone. The oneness is to be unshattered within. To be one with yourself. To commune with yourself. Or with yourselves. It's I have this strange thing that I came by also, philosophy, or philosophy, grow slow, bloom big. It's basically what the Fibonacci spiral is. It grows very slowly in the beginning, and then it blooms out to be something really big. And that's when you awaken. You see the world in a whole new light. All that darkness that you focused on before, it's gone. You can still see the negative perspectives and aspects, but you're not part of them anymore. You can focus on them, be part of them temporarily again. You can let yourself be manipulated by the low consciousness, lower consciousness. Let's see here. Before you step out of the duality, or rather when you step out of the duality, you see good and evil from a whole other perspective. It's unconditional. Humans make it conditional, based on how they perceive it emotionally, and in thoughts and all of that. I've stated that life is a balance between good and evil. Seek the innocence in others. Only then will you see truth. People are shackled to their limits of their consciousness. They are prisoners to their self-values or values of self. And they are slaves to the mindset of others up until the moment that they dig themselves out of that grave that they have so pleasantly put themselves in. There are also 5 pillars: self-respect, self-discipline, self-esteem, self-assurance, and what's the 5th now? Because it's not in this iteration, it's in the other that I have on the computer. Let's see if I can find that, or if I have deleted it, because what's written in here, it scared me for so long. It scared me because of all the other stuff that happened around it or surrounding it. Let's see. I have no idea if they are deleted or not. Could have deleted them because I've been so... No, there it is. Well, there is actually a video, because this is not updated either. There is a video. One of the other ones is part of health, which is fastening. We are constantly told how much we should eat and stuff like that, but the body communes what it needs and not. And if you start to listen to that, you will live a more healthful life. This is not... The universal balance was never about replacing any other life philosophy. It's more like a guideline to how you keep on reading your life philosophy. And it could be... Well, it could basically be the only need you would have also. If you just get the mindset of if you life gives us a whole lot of challenges, and we can see them as good or evil, or give up but I say give in to them. And giving up and giving in is not the same thing. Giving in is to observe and analyze and learn from the past and see it from a more objective light. Become more open. Now, I could say this, but it's probably going to make so many people mad or angry. Past traumas, you keep reliving them because you cannot find it in yourself to forgive, because you cannot come you're unable to get to the state needed in order to see it from another perspective. I say that people act accordingly to their maturity. Mature people don't go and kill others, because mature people are grown up and see the value in life and in others and in themselves, and therefore treat others well. Children, however, might not have the necessary values or self-love that is needed in order to have a value upon another person that is equal to themselves. Because you see the value in others that you hold upon yourself, but your ego will try to put it on a pedestal. I mean, it will try to put your self on a pedestal, and that is what gives them, probably gives them the right, self-righteous right to end another person. The thing is, when you might see one person and you kill one person, you are actually killing the potential of millions. It's not a murder, it's a mass murder. You might only see one person, but what you are killing is that one and all its perspectives. Not perspectives, possibilities. You are killing that person and all his or her possibilities to change, to create life, to, or rather co-create life, or to all the possibilities, that person could, a couple of years later, give advice to one person that ends up creating something that saves millions. But when you kill that person, you take away that possibility. Maybe. If it's meant to happen, it will happen. But still, if you cut off a root on a tree, the possibility that you killed the whole tree is very high. If you cut off the root and the tree lives, you're lucky. But all of this also, I see all of this potential not only in humans but also in animals. I have very strict, strict or strange ways of seeing the whole thing. When it comes to animals, I was taken by the state, by the government, as a child, against my better judgment. Well, with their better judgment at the time, or lack of thereof, I don't know. It destroyed the possibility of having a functional family. But instead of helping my parents into the right direction, instead of helping them becoming mature people and not children that was taking care of children, they acted as if it was two capable people, and they took us, split us up into 2 families, and then 4 families, and then in my anger I didn't speak to my father for 15 years, and when it came to my mother, I was on and off with speaking with her, and every time something was a bit off, I would stop speaking to her by being really, really rude. And that is something I wasn't ready. But it's like this. I've had to think for myself my whole life because other people have not had the insights that have been needed for me to come to these conclusions earlier in life. I was 30 when I forgave my father. At least I forgave him, because I saw everything from another perspective. my mother and my father was not ready to have children, yet they had children. They were not ready to be parents. And they could still not control their actions fully, which is, well, how a child acts. Because it takes self-discipline to come to the state of mind where you do not act upon the emotions that you feel. It's from time to time I behave like a child too. It's nothing that I'm going to hide. It's also like this. It has to end somewhere. Judgement should not be placed solely from a third person perspective. Even though that a first person perspective is usually very angry. It has more right to place a judgment upon how they feel, but it will be self-righteousness. First and second perspective is always self-righteousness. The third perspective has a little bit of both, because they will probably put in some of those nice little feelings in there, and those feelings will give a higher or a lower punishment than necessary. But life punishes people accordingly. Even if my father didn't have any prison time, he's been judged. And life punished him with 15 years of not having me in his life. 15 years, as I was 14 or 15 when, nearly 15 when the government took me, so equal. And he's not treating my youngest sisters in that way that he did, so he has matured. But also, it seemed as if he was unmedicated for schizophrenia. I think he got that because of the medication for his narcolepsy, though. So, but yeah, I wouldn't know. It's not my experience, it's not for me to say. But I can say this much. I am the one that was hit, not you. So I am the only one that has the right to judge my father accordingly and righteously. And I have. I punished him for 15 years and now all is good. But I punished him for 15 years out of self-righteous hatred and anger. So, well, it wasn't 15 years, it was more closely to about 5 years of hatred, 10 years of anger, and then 5 years of should I or should I not meet him. And then when I was 30, I had this epiphany, I could say, wherein I was like, life is too short for me to have ill intent towards my parents who did their best by their limits and standards. Actually did. They did their best. At least from my perspective. Now, it could be different for my sisters. It probably is. Because we didn't live with the same eyes. So we have different experiences. I don't know everything that happened. I don't know everything about myself even. You might think that you know everything about yourself. You know your whole life, you know that all feelings have been right and everything like that. When your insights match up to the truth of your life, a lot of it will become a lie. A lie that you've told yourself for a very long time. And then it becomes very different. You see, there's this little thing called choice. Sometimes we don't really have a real choice. things happen that we have no control over. But what we do have control over is always how we feel and how we perceive and what kind of information we take in and how much we learn about the people that we might think have maleficent intent towards us. Or is it maleficent? Well, ill intent towards us. You could think one thing because you see something, but that is your own intent. That is your self-loathing, your negative perspective of things. That eats you up and puts you in the position of a victim in every situation. But it's still your choice. You chose to stay there because you feel safe as the victim. Now, sometimes you don't have a choice. You might be raped or hit, or kicked. And that is because of the limitations of another person's behavior. Not mature enough to use words. Not mature enough to see value in themselves and therefore no value in others. No self-control. Oh yeah. Self-discipline, self-esteem, self-assurance, and self-control. Fasting is self-control. Yeah, so. The self-discipline, esteem, and assurance was more like less. It's manipulation. I know that I am trying to manipulate people when I say this, and I will keep on saying it, but it's the only thing that I will try to push upon people, and that is those who walks past what has been thrown on the ground and don't pick it up are of the same mentality as the one that littered, even if I would never intend to ever do the same. I don't like that the world is people's trash can. So take that mantra and listen to it. Or read it. Just go into Facebook and if it's still there, I don't know when you're listening. You might be listening 100 years from now. Have no idea. But if Facebook is still there, then Pick It Up might still be there. And if Pick It Up is still there, well, the mantra of that organization will still be there as a center core of the global cleaning community. So I also have this when it comes to self-respect. So about dating, you can read a person from how they perceive or how they react in certain situations. And the first date, there's 3 choices to be made. Either you see eye to each other and equality is something you live by. And if equality is something that you live by, then you split the bill equally. Or you could pay for your stuff, which could have been like fries. And let the other one pay for his or her, which could be this really, really expensive food or drinks. Or you could pay for everything, but when you pay for everything, you kind of set up the standard of what is supposed to be happening every time. The same goes for only paying for your share. You put up this first impression. I personally don't like first impressions. They don't hold up with the truth of who a person is. It's just your expectations upon another that you limit them by, and that is the first impression. I don't like limiting other people. Then we have this. This is a guideline for the yes or no thing. Because you can ask people for a date and they will say yes because they liked the food and they liked that you split the bill or you paid for everything. Suck up. And then they will say yes because they're like, he paid for everything or she paid for everything. I will say yes because free meal? Oh yeah. Okay. That doesn't brawl well for me. Not at all. So I came up with this thought, which is a safety net. The one who gets asked for a second date pays for the next date. Now, if you know that you are supposed to be paying for the food and drinks and everything for the next date, and it's only for a free meal, then you would say no. If you don't have money but you still want to, you can say that. To the one who asks you out on a date. Or you actually like the person and you want to go out with them again, and then you will not care if you or the other pays. But right now, there are so many people that is taking advantage of the old ways, where you go and pay for everything, then you ask for a date, and they come, and they only come for the food. They're not interested in you at all. They just want to use you because you're stupid enough to give them what they need or want. But if you want to be used, you can be used. It's your free will. Why set up this? So that, well, but there's two choices even here. So if you pay for everything and he or she says yes, you could go by the new guideline or the old guideline. And the old guideline is the one that asked for the second date pays for the next date. I don't like dates, personally. I've only gone on 2. 3 actually. Yeah, 3. one of them was quite nice actually, or two of them. The third was not nice at all, and the third one was that one that, well, made me not want to go on a date again, because she used me totally, and it's my fault. I let myself be used. I asked her for a date and she said yes, even though she didn't have any money. Yeah. And I wanted to give her a full day experience, so we went to different restaurants. Or first a cafe, or was it a restaurant? Restaurant, cafe, restaurant, and then we went for some drinks and was supposed to play some pool, but never came to that because I was going to get, well, my cousin was going to get me when they were ready. So, well, it was fun having a full day date. It's how I want dates to be, because you give it a true chance. You have about, I think it was 11.5 hours long of a date. That's a good one. Or if it was 10 or between 10 and 12 hours. It was fun. And we talked a lot. And that's how you should have a date. Because if you give it 10 to 12 hours instead of that bad 30 minutes of an excuse to a date, you won't learn anything about that person. You need to spend enough time with another person to actually learn something about that person, and you won't do that in 30 minutes. They will only show what they want to show. I, however, am all in or nothing, which means I am always myself. There's no reason to lie to anyone. I've never lied to anyone about who I am or what I am. I don't intend to do it either. I'm not gonna change either. I am this person. From time to time I can be happy, other times can be a bit sad. But then when I'm sad, I'm not sad for that long, because I come to the conclusion that it's an inner feeling that I have full control over. Then again, well, crying isn't that bad to do either. Oh. The thing is, when you have a longer date, you learn more about them. You actually learn if you're interested or not, which makes it easier to build up an impression of another person. And while some people try to hold up their mask for months on end, to give up a false version of themselves, not everyone are capable of holding up a charade for more than a couple of hours. And if it's just a couple of hours, then they will have a big problem when they get on a full day date. That's how I see it. But people should be honest with themselves and definitely towards others. If they are not interested, they should say that. And that is about dating, also about self-respect. You find self-respect in standing up to new values, like split the bill equally, which is right towards the other one and towards yourself. And if you feel that your food was a lot more expensive than the other one, and you don't feel it's right for the other one to pay like a super big bunch of money because of your choices, well, then you can pay for your share and let the other one pay for his or her share. It's up to you. Personally, I will never pay for everything again. Ever. No. That opens up for no self-value, no self-worth. That's how I see it. And then I don't know how to implement the new addition to this. If I ask you on a date and you're my opposite gender and you say yes, how will I get you to pay for the whole next date? Or, well, you could always split the bill again. Could always split the bill on every date. That's no problem either. It's just comes with the consequence of saying yes. That's what I'm trying to say. You should only say it if you are truly interested. Because many of the so-called monsters out there are people that have felt let down over and over and over again, and they haven't had the guidance to find self-esteem in themselves, self-assurance or discipline or anything. So instead of learning more about themselves and changing their ways, they get so self-loathing that they start to hate the opposite sex. Yeah. I haven't had much luck when it comes to women, but I still don't hate them. Still love my exes. If you love someone, you shouldn't stop loving them just because they did wrong towards you. They did right towards themselves. That's probably what counts the most. The big question that always comes for me is, what did life teach me about myself in this experience? What did I learn from this experience? That's what you should question yourself every time that something doesn't work out as you want it to. And when it comes to relationships, they usually end because people aren't capable of being honest towards themselves and communicate with each other. Is it that difficult, really? Oh, well. From my earlier experiences, I would say that people don't really have the patience to tolerate another person's lack of capabilities to communicate properly. I've been a pacifist for God knows for how long. I think it's so since I was 14 at least, I think. But stating I'm a pacifist doesn't mean I haven't been using violence towards, say, what's it called now? Well, my cell phones. They had, up until I can't remember when I last had a phone that had wings. Suicidal maniacs, that's why I call them. They get wings and they fly into the walls. I don't understand why. Yeah, and I can have anger issues from time to time, but it's because of myself. I grasp that thought every time, and I try to understand myself and try to understand why it is as it is. Huh. Oh. Yeah. You know, you shouldn't say that you love someone if they end up hurting you and you scream to them that you hate them. It doesn't work like that. You either love someone or you don't. And if you love them for the rest of your life. There is no exception. Because love comes from within. Which means you hate yourself. So the question is, why do you hate yourself? I think that's enough. I've been it's almost 2 hours of this nonsense. At least it's... Hopefully there's someone listening somewhere. maybe. I don't know. I have no idea if someone is going to listen and actually hear what I've been saying. I have no idea. If what I say is something that is going to be perceived as it's meant to be perceived, because I have no control over how you perceive what I have been saying. I have another I have another insight just to add here before I end the video. So let's see if I can change the title here so that you can read it properly. Let's see if I can... there's a sentence that goes, I didn't say you should kill him. This sentence can be read in so many different ways. So 7 to be exact. So if you emphasize a specific word in this sentence, like, I didn't say you should kill him. 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 Now, that's comment, or that one simple meaning can have multiple perceptions. What one says can mean something different entirely. It can be interpreted in a whole other way. This is why I haven't read the Bible. I mean that if you do not have the Creator's mind, then you shouldn't read what has been written. I don't have the Creator's mind. I think. I don't know. I haven't read it, so I don't know if my interpretation of it would be the right interpretation. There's also people don't like my walls of text, but I've told them that that wall of text, it is there for a reason. You are not supposed to interpret what I say, you're supposed to read what I say. Therefore, I have many words and many ways to tell you the same thing over and over again, so that you will finally understand or get it, what is actually stated, and not anything from your own perspective. Things from our own perspective tends to be very biased, extremely biased. This is why there are so many interpretations of the Bible, because people use their own self-righteousness to read it. And then they take their version and they tell it to people. This is what I read. This is what it says. And they can go into there and they can see, oh my God, that is exactly what's standing there. Oh, he was right. But was he? Was this person really right in its interpretation? Because there are so many interpretations that some of them become false and some of them kinda right and some of them on point. But just because you have one interpretation of one part on one page right does not mean you are capable of having the same on point interpretation of everything that is in the book or Bible or the scriptures that you prefer. And a scripture is a life philosophy. People already state that it's the book of life. Your name is in the book of life. How can you be so ignorant not to see when it states book of life? It's the life philosophy of life interpreted by the few that is named by name and vocation in the book. And that is also why it has very different values in some ways from what we have today, like stoning people and stuff like that. We don't stone people because it's inhumane. But at the time of its creation, it was the common values of the people. This is why the universal balance is created, or was created. I don't know why. I just wrote down what came to my mind. I had no control of it. The only control I had was that I don't know. I don't know if I had any control. I know that I wrote it down because I had to write it down. Equally as I make my videos because I have to make them. Because of that impulsive compulsion. I get this compulsion that I cannot control. I just need to make that video that I'm making. And that is why I don't cut them. I don't cut them because I'm not supposed to be cutting them into parts. Right now, I'm making parts of them instead. Oh. I am supposed to be slipping away now and stop talking because I came into this way of speaking right now that sometimes I get into a flow and I keep on recording up until the moment that flow is gone. Hopefully it's not like the other ones when I've had if you look back you can see videos that has been made over 1 day or a sequence of 3 days. And I also have a book that I wrote over, what was it, 2 weeks I think? I spent 2 weeks manic about writing that freaking book. I have not released it. I haven't read it. I just wrote it. And the person that I wanted to read it and see if there was any errors in it was more curious about my 15 first years than how I came to not hate my parents anymore. Because that book is not about the past, it's about the age of 30 up until the day I wrote the book. It's not about the time before. If it had been about the time before, I would have written about the time before. But I didn't. So I didn't release the book because she didn't like it. After reading about 3 pages or something like that and just asking me a lot of questions about my prior life, which is not part of the book. It's that those prior years are open for judgment if I write them down. And they should not be judged because it's the past. It doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. What has happened has already happened. And now that book is in the past, so I don't know if I'm ever going to release it anyway, because it was a creation of the flow in that moment. There is something though about the Bible, or rather not the Bible but the Torah. The Torah is more interesting to me than the Bible. It's called the Holy Bible, but holy means genuine, unique. And it's most definitely a very unique book. Very... not like any other book. So it's definitely holy. But before you know that holy means that, you will mistake it for being divine. There's nothing divine about the book. It holds words that could be divine if a divine person reads them. That means you need to be pure of heart, pure of mind, and long past the bias of your self-righteousness. I don't know if I'm past that yet. I know that if I had read it back in 2016, I would have been. I do miss those things. Anyway, thanks for watching. And watching. You've been watching a very, very boring screen now. It's more or less like a podcast nowadays. Because I have Rostasia, and because I have that, I don't really want to have my face out there. But I don't really want a following, and I don't want to have my face out there either, because it's words. It doesn't... I don't care. This is like when I've had thoughts of different inventions or ideas, and I've given them to other people. I've given them to people that are capable of performing that idea. If they don't perform that idea, it's up to them. It's their free will to take it or not. I know my limits. They don't exist. The limits that we put upon ourselves don't really exist. We can learn all that we need in order to change our ways. Life gives us that chance. It's up to us to take it or leave it. It's our free will. I don't know if I should eat. I feel like a fasting should be good now. Yeah, probably. Well, once again, thank you for listening to this podcast. Impulsive Compulsion here at Question Truth with me, Slisk Lindqvist, and have a happy day, night, evening, morning, or whatever. Bye.